So one of the coolest things that I get to do, like, so my job, right? I work at the airport, like a private base. I get like a bunch of charters, bunch of like private planes that come in and stuff, right?
Sure.
Every now and again, you get to meet celebrities.
Really?
Yeah, like
I guess because that's because they're flying all the time.
yeah, like we had the here in town. It was last summer. We had the. I don't even remember. It wasn't SuperCon. Was it SuperCon?
Yeah. SuperCon is the anime convention, quote unquote.
the nerd convention where like all of the
actually,
like,
I guess
actors,
it's more of a comic convention, like a
like
Comic-Con type thing.
Right, like all the different like actors and stuff came in.
Yeah.
We got to. There was only a couple that came in through our specific base, but I think the coolest one that I got to meet was Gus from Breaking Bad.
Oh, I think you told me about that actually.
Yeah. Because like it was really funny to me because like he just steps off this plane. I'm like, I have no idea who this elder gentleman is, and one of my coworkers is like, dude, you know who that is? I was like, no. He's like, that's Giancarlo. I'm like, that's a name.
Yep.
He's like, yeah, he's was in the Mandalorian and is also Gus from Breaking Bad. I'm like, oh,
you know that name.
Yeah. So like, I don't know. He was a really polite dude and is like overall one of the like cooler celebrities / famous people I've ever gotten to meet. But I don't think he's like my all-time favorite celebrity that I ever met was actually a WWE superstar, Seth Rollins.
I know that name.
Yeah, I met him doing
foot dive.
Like we had a Q&A session like really briefly where he like asked a bunch of people if we had any questions for him. And I asked, hey, what's your, like, you've had a really, like, long career. What is your proudest accomplishment? And he just thinks about it for a second. He's like, well, seeing my wife main event WrestleMania was really cool. I was like,
wow.
What? So respect plus 100.
That's crazy,
That's so fucking cool that, like, he's multiple-time world champion, has, like, sold out several, like, stadiums, like, traveled the entire world. And, like, seeing his wife succeed is like, dude, you're fucking cool. What a cool man.
I'm trying to think if there's any. I don't know that I've actually seen like that many like quote unquote famous people outside of like going to concerts.
Yeah. Yeah.
I do vaguely remember when I was like 10 years old. My dad is and always has been a big Zac Brown Band fan. We actually did.
Oh, sure.
We actually did an eat and greet with them.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, nice.
They had fucking like.
Please tell me it was Kentucky Fried Chicken.
Oh, no.
Damn it.
No, we had like legit like ribs and like pulled pork and
hell yeah.
sandwiches and shit. It was so good.
Nice.
It was definitely kind of like, because I'd listened to my dad listen to them for so long. It was actually kind of weird to like actually meet them.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I don't think that I've really met that many famous people.
It's like kind of weird though how it's like you for so long you like have this like almost, I don't want to say parasocial, but like you know them from like their music, their shows, whatever, and then like actually like seeing the human
like,
being.
Oh,
in
you're
front
a
of
real
you.
person.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's just like, because when I met Giancarlo specifically, it was like, yeah, he was talking about his really nice Italian felt hat, and it was like, that's
wow,
good for you, buddy.
Yeah, you got it.
Yeah.
You got it, Chief.
Yeah, but no, that's, I don't know. Seeing that celebrities are in fact actual human beings too is rather neat.
Smash players don't count. By the
No,
way.
there's
That's why I'm not. That's why I'm not saying Smash players.
No, I would never. There's like one Smash player that I would meet. And
I would
consider like a celebrity. It's like there'd be one, and it'd be like Ken, because he was on Survivor, which is like.
I guess that's true.
Yeah.
I mean, even that, like, I guess you could. I mean, it's a meme, but like, I would say the most celebrity of like the Smash players is definitely like Hungrybox.
Yeah.
Like, he's technically
Yeah.
a celebrity at
Like,
this point.
He's like actually like borderline, not mainstream, but like top 10 ish, like 10, 20 like Twitch streamers. So I'd count that.
Yeah, it counts. But like, I don't think that I've seen him in person, but I haven't like met him.
Yeah.
So like, I don't know that really counts.
I played a doubles set against Larry Lurr. What does that count for?
You did do that. I do remember that. That was funny.
Yeah, I almost successfully pulled off a 2v1 against them, and then lost last stock, last hit. And he said, "Damn, your Bowser was really cooking." Like, I mashed in your general direction, but thanks, man.
Remember when the first episode we made of this podcast was a Smash episode?
Yeah, it was gonna be an anime episode.
Where have we gone?
And now we're slowly just admitting that we're a Fate podcast now.
Yeah, pretty much.
That's what we are.
Speaking of Fate podcast, this is Kotalksu, the talk show out of Kotatsu.
every single time.
I gotta find a way to do it every time.
You know what? After all of the curveballs I throw at you, you're getting really good at it.
I'm trying. One of these days, it's just gonna make like absolutely no sense. Like speaking of baked potato chips, this is Kotalksu.
All right, high key, baked potato chips better than any other type of potato chip.
You're right. Baked Lays, bro. Heat.
Like, give me that over like any other tortilla chip.
The baked barbecue ones
chip.
are like, they're okay.
I don't mind them. Like every now and again, you're in the mood for it.
I suppose it's the original ones that are like.
Yeah, the original ones are like.
Have you had the kettle cooked Lays?
I am super hit or miss on them.
Those are actually pretty good.
I either really
I do like kettle chips, to be fair though. So
I either really want kettle chips or I don't want kettle chips at all.
Nah, I suppose.
Yeah.
So we're back. After whatever the hell we did last time.
Yeah. We've been like going through some shit. If I'm being honest.
Yeah, there's been a lot of stuff going on. So I know that this is gonna come out after our Honkai and FGO episode slash Genshin slash all gacha slash everything.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's been kind of a bit of a crazy schedule for both of us. We're trying our best. I'm also now learning how to edit, so hopefully.
Yeah.
I'm editing this episode as we speak. Who knows?
You might be.
I might be.
Yeah, no, definitely. As soon as like I teach Jace the basics, it's like taking all of my willpower to not just like, all right, move. Let me do all of this again. Because like you want to learn, and so now I'm like teaching you how to do it.
Well, it's just like the only issue that's going to come with that is like trying to find time to do it. Because.
Because your schedule's busier than mine.
To give you guys a little insight onto my life, I work a full-time job plus an extra day of work every week. I also am doing full-time school, even though it is summer. Technically, I'm still doing 15 credits this summer. Yeah. So
yep.
I also run Smash tournaments twice a week. So, but yeah. So today we're continuing our little. You may have heard of it. It's called Fate.
Yeah. Hitchhiker's Guide to the Nasuverse.
We did a small episode on it recently,
Yeah, recently, like 2 months ago.
2 months ago.
Yeah, yeah. We can't call it recently anymore, dude.
I gotta say, every time I look at like the metrics for that video, I'm just impressed every time because it feels like it doubles.
Yeah.
Every time. Like
now
new people are finding it.
Now you know how I felt.
It's super cool.
It helps that it's like a lot of people like want to know more about the universe, and a lot of people ask like, what's the starting point? How do I get into this?
Yeah.
And it's like Zero or Stay Night is like you're in, and that's what we want this episode to be. Talking specifically about Fate Zero and Fate Stay Night.
So most of Fuyuki.
Yeah. We're gonna save the rest of the like Hollow Ataraxia and that stuff for a future episode. Because right now
it's because we were supposed to do it today, but we forgot to read the fucking visual novel.
Yeah.
We don't have time.
We're gonna do like timeline order. We're gonna start with Zero. Real quick, do a recap of like the main synopsis, and you can go ahead with that.
Cool. So if we're starting with Fate Zero, so this is the fourth Holy Grail War, and this is also the first Holy Grail War after the events of when Angramanyu, Angry Mango, corrupted the Grail, made it evil.
Yep.
This is the first of those Holy Grail Wars. And this is also the beginning to the whole Fate Stay Night timeline where you have, your, normal characters like Gilgamesh and Saber and all that stuff. So, Fate Zero is technically supposed to be like the prequel, not like the beginning because it's came out after the original Fate Stay Night. But Fate Zero, basically, you see yourselves in Fuyuki. You're mainly following the story of Kiritsugu Emiya, as well as Kirei Kotomine, who is like the main villain of the show. Kind of.
Yeah.
Sort of.
It's like a weird... They're like...
There's like three villains.
Yeah, they're like both protagonists in a weird way.
Protagonists of their own story.
Like, legitimately, yes. Like, Fate Zero is kind of like... They're Batman and Joker, right?
Right.
They're they are... You can't have one without the other.
Yeah,
almost.
Exactly. So so just like a normal Holy Grail Wars, you got your 7 servants, 7 masters. You got Kiritsugu with Saber. You've got Kotomine with
First Assassin.
First Assassin. That's right. Yeah. Initially, Assassin ended up being Gilgamesh.
Yeah.
You have Tosaka, who has Gilgamesh initially. And then shit happens.
Yep.
You have Ryunosuke, who has Caster. You have Waver, Velvet, who has Rider, or Iskandar. You have Kirie?
Karya.
That's what it was. You have Karya, Mato, who is Sakura's uncle, and he has Berserker. And then you have, who am I missing?
Kaneth. El Malloy with
Right.
Lancer.
They had fucking, who cares?
Yeah.
Lancer? Cool. Kaneth?
The show was trying to find a way to write him off in the best possible way. It's like, all right, we're just gonna have you like not be here until we need to kill you later, because you're
pretty much, yeah.
Your fiance is way hotter than you are.
That's facts.
Yeah.
And then she lost her arm, and
Yeah, and then they all died, and
thank God.
Lancer got Shinda, but not like Ku. He cried instead.
So the story. I think the story starts off with like mainly an introduction to Kirei, isn't it?
Yeah, that's like episode. So, like UBW, Zero has an episode 0 where like introduces the masters, gets to like the beginnings of their summonings, and Kirei is like the first like major protagonist for a good chunk of the story.
Yep, Kirei, as you come to find out, is a priest within the church.
Mm-hmm.
He's also a bastard,
and I love him.
He's awesome for it. But basically, I think his like whole purpose in the Holy Grail War was to like, I don't know, it was just to like find.
So it was initially like within the church, like his father Kotamine, essentially struck a deal with Tokiomi Tosaka to say like, "Ayo, you're gonna compete in the Grail War, but you're gonna lose immediately." So then we can like bolster Tosaka's chances of winning, right?
Yeah. That's what it was. Yeah, and that's why you see it later when Assassin tries to go like attack the Tosaka residence and gets demolished.
Yeah, because Gil is kind of broken,
kind of good.
Yeah. So that's what Kirei's like initial thing was, and that's why he ended up summoning Assassin, who was like the worst combating servant class, but like the best like assassin. Like he will kill the master better than anyone else.
Yeah, pretty much.
And then everyone else gets introduced. Everyone has their different motivations. Karyo wants to save his niece. Ryunosuke just wants to murder people.
Kill people.
Kiritsugu is contracted out by the Ironsburns.
Yep.
Waver wants to prove that he can be a real mage too, and Kaneth wants to prove no, you can't. That's
pretty good way of
you
putting it,
get
actually.
like the best. I will say, as much as I don't like some of the characters in Zero, like everyone has a rock solid motivation for being in the Grail War.
For sure. Yeah. No, I agree. So so episode 0, you kind of get introduced to everybody, and then the Holy Grail War starts.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where we start here with what was like the first like big thing that happened?
I think the first like there was a couple like major events that happened right off the bat. So Kirei summoned the 100-Face Hassan, who is exactly what it sounds like, the assassin with 100 different personas.
There's a lot of fuckers.
Yeah, basically. He got a small army and sent one of them to like initially die, so it seemed like he's out of the Grail War, and that's where he like really meets Gilgamesh more or less. And then you also have a little bit after that Saber versus Lancer.
Yes, yeah. So you get the initial fight, like the first fight that Saber actually interacts in, which is with Lancer, who is Kaneth's servant. Mm-hmm. They actually begin to form like this actual like warriors bond type thing, where they're just like they're being honorable and fighting each other to be honorable, not to actually kill each other.
Yeah,
I
mean, they're fighting to win. They're fighting to win.
But it's not like they're not doing it for like their own selfish reasons. They're doing it because they're honorable.
It's a clean fight, not like, oh, I'm gonna fucking like fake out kill your master instead. No, they're being chill while going for each other's throats.
Yep. And in that fight, Lancer actually hits Saber's arm. Right?
Yes.
With some kind of magic that prevents her from basically using it.
Yeah.
So.
Mm-hmm.
So she's basically crippled for a little while.
Yeah. And that's like a recurring thing for the first like half of Zero.
Yeah.
And
you also get Saber in a black suit, which looks fucking cool.
God, she's so hot.
She's so cool.
She's so hot.
They really
fucking-
they really snapped with her design.
Yeah.
Like they just like
they went all out on making Saber as like fucking
iconic as possible.
yeah.
I mean, they succeeded.
Yeah.
Like
It's like they dropped the lore dump and they're like, all right, so we're gonna give her a motorcycle now because that's cool as hell.
why did they They didn't need to do that.
No, but it's sick.
Why did they do that?
Because as a Saber, she has the riding skill.
I guess that is true, huh? So
Yeah.
she can just ride anything.
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
like horseback check,
You also
car check.
you also realize with Saber specifically that she become like really good friends with EDA.
With who?
EDA?
Who?
The hell is her name?
Irisville?
Wow.
What the fuck is Irie?
I thought she called her like something.
Irie?
Irie. That's what it was. I apologize.
What in the
Dude,
goddamn
do you know how
hell?
long it's been since I've seen Fate Zero?
Yeah, I am aware.
Mixture of that plus me being terrible with names.
So what I was so lost. What the heck?
Irie.
God.
That's what it was.
Yeah. And then Irisville like goes on to like it's revealed pretty quick that she's dying. That's cool.
Mm-hmm.
And that kind of makes her a target, being an Einsborn homunculus.
Yep.
And from there on, the Grail Word pretty much just goes out. It plays itself. Lots of political intrigue, lots of backstabbing. Cool magic stuff happens. Cool magic stuff unhappens. It all kind of builds up to several different climaxes.
Mm-hmm.
The first major one being everybody versus Caster.
Yeah. So
And like the first Excalibur.
yeah. So Caster, what his actual name is?
Gildere.
Gildere. That's right. And he becomes so you meet him and you immediately know that this guy is a psychopath.
Yeah.
Yeah. He kills a child like immediately. That was fun.
And that is based on historical fact, unfortunately. That did bad things to children.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So you come to hate him pretty quickly.
Yeah.
One of the first like major interactions he has with like another servant is actually Saber.
Yeah.
And he mistakes her for Jeanne d'Arc,
Mm-hmm.
who he is furiously hunting because
He is
he's horny. I don't know.
yeah. He is madly in love with his. He like how people have like the parasocial relationship with like their favorite idol or whatever. He's that, but with Jean.
With Jeanne d'Arc,
Yeah.
pretty much. So Saber ends up going to the Caster actually shows up at the the Einsborn castle and just tries to like kill her basically.
Yeah, more or less.
Yeah, and then actually, and in that same time frame, Lancer actually shows up.
Yeah.
And helps out. So that was
Yeah.
pretty cool. And that kind of gave you a little bit more development on Saber and Lancer, like being honorable to each other and only wanting either one of them to be the one that kills the other.
Yeah.
So it's pretty cool dynamic, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so it builds up this point that Caster is just like the guy to kill basically because he is just psychopathic.
Mm-hmm.
And it builds up to a point where Caster creates this giant spell where he basically turns himself into an eldritch abomination.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yep. And that's where all hands on deck, everyone has to kill him.
Yep.
And in order for Saber Saber's the only one that has like the blow to kill him. So Diarmuid snaps his like cursed lance that like maimed her hand, so she can fully unleash Excalibur, which is then able to disintegrate the giant tentacle monster.
Yep, and that is the first time that Excalibur was ever in anime form, or I guess not in anime form, but like the first time it was done like with like updated graphics and visual effect. It looks legitimately, if you are watching this podcast and you haven't seen Fate Zero or you have no idea what we're talking about, just go look up the Fate Zero Excalibur scene.
It's so
it's so goddamn cool.
Take it from a Zero hater. Like that scene is so well done. It's
Yeah.
so well directed. It's so well shot, and it's so well just like animated. Like the shot of everyone, like even Iskandar, who disrespects the shit out of Saber, like taking a step back and like revering how holy and pure this sword is.
Yeah.
Just like marveling in the sword of promised victory.
Yeah.
That is what this is, and it's so cool to see everyone just like, you got this, man. You're the man.
You got it. Go ahead.
It's so fucking cool to like
you have the floor.
yeah. And I think that's what made Saber fan favorite character for a lot of people.
Yes.
And then like that's what makes the rest of Zero so like hard for a lot of people to watch, because it's like the rest of it is more or less just a saber torture porn. And a lot of it is like, oh, your friend that you have a honorable rivalry with that you want to like kill each other in good faith.
That's Berserk.
He's killed himself now. Too bad about that one. Time to cry. Oh, this guy that's been hunting you down like a mad dog, he's actually your favorite knight Lancelot, and you just had to stab him after you've been traumatized for being a bad king. Iskandar is a sexist pig. Haha. Yeah, that's awesome. Oh, hey, Gilgamesh, he wants to maim you and then make you his trophy wife. Oh, now you have to kill a cup. Your friend is dead now. Like, it's she gets the biggest dub, and then it's just L after L after L after L, and it fucking sucks.
Yeah, that's true. So I guess we could kind of talk about the storylines for a couple of the other people too. Gilgamesh is a big one. So Gilgamesh started as Tosaka's servant, but after a couple very, very cool conversations with Kirei, I love those scenes, by the way.
They're so good.
They're so good.
They're so good.
It's just like there's like two scenes in particular where it's just Kirei and Gilgamesh talking. Like that's all it is.
Yeah.
But like Gilgamesh is like picking apart his brain to like see how he feels and then giving him his opinion on how he feels, and Kirei basically just like, I don't know, something awakened in him and made him realize what his actual purpose is and that he's just an evil to be evil.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, so at some point Gilgamesh was like, well, since Tosaka is not giving me what I want, how about
yeah, and like that all comes to a head as well, where he's like talking to Kirei, and Kirei's like, yeah, Tosaka was gonna tell you to kill yourself.
Yep.
He was gonna low tier god you, and then he's like, well, shit, only I can low tier god me. You kill him, and he's like, all right, cool. Stabs him in the back, and then they become best friends forever.
Yep.
And kill the town.
Yeah, pretty much. So that's more or less Gil's story. Then you also have Iskandar, who
I fucking hate Iskandar with every fiber of my being. I am his number one hater. But I will say he is not a badly written character. It is just my bias against him. I disagree with his ideals, and I don't like how it felt like Orobuchi put him on this pedestal to like tear down some of the other characters that I fell in love with. But he's a charismatic son of a bitch. Like I have to admit that he is a well-written character. I just don't like him.
And you can't deny the scene where he's like his final stand against Gilgamesh is so cool.
Yeah. I was going to say, if I didn't hate him so passionately, that scene would have made me like his number one biggest fan, because that is my favorite trope in all of fiction, where it's like the one dude, like, I'm going to die, but I'm going to die fighting. So I get back up and like stare death in the face. I love that scene.
Because like at this point, you know, we've all come to understand that Gilgamesh is like this overpowered, like cannot be stopped kind of servant. So to watch him actually like get nervous and like almost use, or he actually did use his sword.
Yeah,
Aya. Yeah. He actually had to use his sword to defeat Iskandar, and even Gilgamesh was like, I've never had to do that before.
Yeah, basically. Like for context, like that's like, imagine instead of like starting out with punches and kicks, Goku immediately starts with a spirit bomb. Yeah. That's basically what it is. It's like his ace in the hole weapon that he only uses against either as an absolute last resort or against those that he deems worthy. Yeah. So like Enkidu, Iskandar, and Artoria are like the three that he uses it against.
I love, dude. Enuma Elish is still probably like my favorite mobile phantasm.
Yeah, Enuma Elish is fucking
It's so
raw.
Cool. It's such a simple idea, but it's so cool. And the fact he has like his own chant that goes with it too. Yeah. Like
yeah, the sword that separates the heavens from the earth.
Yep.
Like fucking Aya is also gorgeously animated, brilliantly done.
It's just a coolly designed sword too.
Yeah.
Like his, like, you know, when you think of a sword, you think of like a sharp blade. It's thin, but this is actually like circular almost.
It's more or less a hand cannon.
Kind of, yeah. Actually, it's a hand cannon with a handle.
Yeah. And it's just like, your alternate like reality marble that's like the peek into your psyche is goodbye now. Yep, you're welcome.
So Iskandar and Gilgamesh are having a good time. Meanwhile,
Saber and Berserker
are also having a good time. And meanwhile, Karya is getting his ass kicked.
Yeah. And then Karya is like, oh, love of my life, I didn't mean to choke you out and almost break your windpipe. I did break your windpipe. My bad. I'm going to kill myself now.
Oh, yeah, he did do that.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. Zero is a great example of a Greek tragedy in terms of like narrative because nobody wins.
Realistically, no.
The only person that wins is the evil bastard Kirei.
Yeah, pretty much.
Kirei wins even after he dies.
Yep. Because so at the, I mean, I guess kind of skipping ahead a little bit. So at the end, you have like the big fight between Kirei and Kiritsugu. Amazing fight, by the way.
Yeah.
And Kirei actually dies.
Yeah.
But the Holy Grail got destroyed and flooded the city.
Yep.
So he got, bathed in like the contents of the Grail and basically reawakened with no heart.
Yep.
So
because he is an evil bastard.
Yep. And has no heart.
Yeah. So he is basically just alive out of like spite and evil malicious energy.
Pretty much.
Gil is also alive for similar reasons. And but here's the thing about Gilgamesh, right? Being number one most overpowered servant, he needs a lot of mana to keep him alive. So how do they do that to keep him alive till Holy Grail War 5? They use orphans as batteries. And they keep them in the bottom of the church.
Yay.
Yup.
Bet you didn't know that one.
Yep. You didn't know that one, I know for a fact.
I didn't.
Yep. Don't you love powering your blonde prick with children?
Children.
Woo!
It's always got to be the fucking children.
Yeah, my favorite AA battery. A goddamn child.
Actually, they're younger, so it's probably AAA.
Oh yeah. God damn it.
Was that bad? Anyway.
I mean shit.
You also, so I guess the other like important storyline, obviously, that we didn't talk about was Kiritsugu, because you kind of get a little bit of insight to his backstory, where he grew up on like an island of sorts, with Shirley was her name.
I think so.
Shirley.
That sounds right.
I'm pretty sure it was Shirley, and they had a life together, and his dad was like a scientist or whatever, and testing things. Because his like main thing was he was like trying to like, I don't know, reanimate.
It was something like it was something
weird. Something about eternal life or like reanimating the dead or something like that. So basically what happens is they're having a good time. They're all, hunky dory, all that good stuff. Shirley ends up like, I don't know, didn't she like consume something?
Something happened where the populace of the island, sans for like a couple people, got turned into zombies, basically. Which there's a better word for it, but they're zombies for intents and purposes. Yeah.
So if you're like deep into the Fate verse, you probably know them as dead apostles. Because dead
apostles?
That's the name that they gave them. Yeah, they called them dead apostles.
Oh.
Because that's why the church came in.
Oh, you're right.
Yeah.
I remember the church and I remember the Mage Association coming in.
Yep. And that was the main reason why, because there was an outbreak of dead apostles on one island,
gotcha.
which is actually really cool, because that's like one of like from an anime standpoint, that's one of like the few times that like you can see like the connection between Fate and other Nasu works like Tsukihime. Because Tsukihime is big on dead apostles. Like that's like the main thing is talking about dead apostles.
Yeah, that's actually one of the things that I didn't remember off the top of my head. So.
You're welcome.
Good shout out on that. Yeah.
And yeah, so that's so his sister dies. Cool.
Yeah.
He also ends up killing his dad because he was the one that basically created the problem.
Yep.
And then he meets
Natalia.
Natalia. Yeah. I'm glad you remembered that, because I was never gonna get that.
Yeah.
Yeah, Natalia, who is part of the Mages Association, basically trying to hunt. She's basically a bounty hunter.
Yeah. She hunts the bad mages, and in turn turned Kiritsugu into a mage assassin of his own.
Yep. That is also where Kiritsugu got his
origin rounds.
His origin rounds, which is like his like main like weapon, or like his like special weapon. Basically, they were bullets made out of his bone, and was it just bone? I don't remember.
They're made out of his ribs.
His ribs, that's what it was. Yeah.
And it was like, in order to like channel his origin, which like, again, going back to it a little bit, your origin is like what is the core root of your like personality.
Yeah.
His is separation and then rebinding.
Yep.
So it's like phenomenal at like being the anti-mage weapon. Like it is the number one anti-mage tool. and that is what makes him such a effective mage killer. But as a consequence, there's only like a handful of rounds total. Like I want to say it was like he was in like less than 50, I think.
Something like that. But yeah, he definitely didn't get a whole lot, and he obviously couldn't make more. So.
Yeah. So it's like a last resort type deal.
You only have so many ribs.
Exactly.
But that was actually what he used on his battle against Cainith. So Cainith basically had like this like unimpenetrable shield around him, and when the bullet shot through it, it went straight through it, hit Cainith, and fucked him up basically. Cut off his magic circuits.
Yep.
So he couldn't do anything.
Right.
And that's why he was stuck in a wheelchair, and then.
and then the Aaron headbutt nice day happened. Love that video.
I love that video. Oh my god, Aaron headbutt is too funny.
I love it. Like handful of Fate content creators that are like above all else. Number 1 is Aaron headbutt. Number 2 is me.
Wow. Okay.
I kid. Or do I?
I don't think you kid.
It's okay. But yeah, no. That's kind of what makes Kiritsugu like he wanted to be like a good hero. He wanted to save the innocent, and he wanted to be he wanted to be a superhero basically.
Yeah, but that was like the only thing that he could do at that point. Was kill the bad mages.
And that twisted his vision of what it meant to be a hero.
Yep.
And that's why he is so like hard set, like always save the majority, even if it like kill the minority to save the majority.
Right.
And that's, a very flawed vision because it's not always that black and white.
Yeah.
And it's because he saw it that black and white that led to the Grail overflowing, and that led to the destruction of Fuyuki.
And that's also why he killed Natalia, because Natalia was on a plane investigating some guy who had like he was a bad mage who had a bunch of wasps basically as like his like magic source, and they like killed people and turned them into zombies basically.
Yeah.
So she ended up being on the plane where that happened, and there was an outbreak. Because she actually killed him, and then she's fine.
Okay.
And then she killed him, and then after killing his body, it actually released a bunch of those wasps onto the plane and turned everyone into zombies. Mm-hmm. So Natalia was basically on a ticket, like inside of a time bomb, because if that plane landed, it was going to kill a bunch of people.
Yep,
potentially.
So what does Kiritsugu do?
Blows it up with a rocket launcher.
Yep.
Killing Natalia at the same time.
Yep.
Which I will say that scene was honestly like really tough. I think like it was that I think that was a really like well done way of showing like how far gone he is with that kind of ideology, and how much it hurts him at the same time.
Sure.
So I thought that was a really good way to do it. But I know
I laughed because it was really funny.
It was kind of funny.
He's just like having a heartfelt conversation with his like mentor, like
pulls out the bazooka.
You've taught me so much. I will miss you and appreciate you forever. Goodbye now. It's just the contrast was so funny to me.
Yeah. But yeah, so cutting ahead to after the Kiritsugu and Kirei fight, Kiritsugu kind of has like an epiphany about the Holy Grail, and like after being absorbed within its like contents and seeing like a vision and everything like that, and like fake like evil Irie and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And basically decides, okay, I'm gonna destroy this thing.
Yep. He commands Saber to destroy the Holy Grail using both his command seals.
Which, by the way, more on the Saber torture.
Yep.
She does not like that.
Nope.
Because that was like her whole purpose was to get the Grail.
Yeah. And so he ends up destroying the Grail, which then overflows, causing the Fuyuki fire, which then causes the death of thousands. And he is then like, oh, in my attempt to do the right thing, I have killed so many more people than have needed to be done. And then that's what like finally like mentally shatters Kiritsugu.
Pretty much.
To the point where he's only able to save one person, a child that will be known as Shiro, and then ends up out of guilt partially takes Shiro to be his own child. And
now here we are.
And that goes into Stay Night.
Fate Stay Night.
So there's some like really important things that were like set up in Zero that were like briefly mentioned in Stay Night. And the first big one is like the idea of a summoning catalyst.
Yes.
Which where like, if you want to summon a specific servant, you greatly increase your chances of doing so by having a specific like artifact or relic from their life.
I want to say Kiritsugu, for example, had Avalon.
Yep.
The scabbard for Excalibur. And he used that to make sure that he summons Saber, basically.
Waver had a fragment of Iskandar's cape, which he then got Iskandar. Tokyomi Tosaka had the snake that drank the elixir of immortality from Gilgamesh's Epic of Gilgamesh, and that's how we got him. There's a couple more that like that, but that's like really the first major time that we see catalysts done in Fate. Also kind of related to that is like with Zoken's specific summoning ritual for Karya.
Yes.
He added onto the phrase, I don't remember what the exact phrase is.
Something about consuming by the darkness and something like that.
There's a phrase that you can do which will either guarantee your servant is a berserker or at the very least give them madness enhancement, which is like the berserker class ability.
Yeah.
And that's why Lancelot, who is typically a saber servant, was summoned as a berserker and became Rage Monster. So
Rage Monster.
Yeah. So it basically like it just increases their physical stats like incredibly, but then dumps their wisdom, dumps their charisma. They're just a mad beast that just 20s in strength.
I should ask, by the way, before we go to Fate's Day Night, outside of the Excalibur scene, what is your favorite scene in Fate Zero? Because I have mine.
Do I have another scene that I like from Zero?
There's gotta be something.
I'm thinking.
Any of the fights?
So, here's the thing about the fights in Zero. They all suffer from shonenitis, where they over-explain everything.
Yeah.
And I fucking hate all
suppose.
of them. I think the only fight that I think it kind of works, or works fine for me, is Saber versus Lancelot.
Yeah.
I'd say that's probably my next favorite scene.
Okay, that's fair.
Because, like, I'm a huge sucker for all of the Knights of the Round Table stuff, which is weird because I'm not like huge on their mythology in real life.
Right. You just like Camelot.
Yeah. For some reason in Fate, I fucking love it.
Yeah.
And I think that like here, like seeing how like, you know, if this was the only scene that existed, like Saber like breaking of like, this was what I meant to all my people, and like I don't know what I'm actually fighting for anymore.
Yeah.
I would believe if this was the only scene for that motivation, because of how well done Lancelot snapping out of madness enhancement and like apologizing to his king is.
Yeah. Me personally, the dogfight.
The dogfight's really cool.
Dogfight is so cool.
Berserker in general is just really cool in Zero.
It basically what happens is Gilgamesh has his weird like golden flying plane thing that he's just sitting on.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
I don't know where it came from, but sure.
It's something in the Gate of Babylon, like a super spaceship. I don't fucking know.
And Berserker basically takes control of a fighter plane.
Yep.
So
with people inside it.
With
With
people inside of it. And they basically fight in the sky, and Gilgamesh is sitting there with his like hand on his face the whole time.
Yeah.
It's really funny.
He's just hanging out. He's just chilling.
He's just hanging out because he knows he's gonna win.
Yeah.
So
I think that's like also a good thing that like Zero does show is that like not every single noble phantasm is the same, because you have like Diarmuid's spears and how they're like cursed lances.
Yep.
Gilgamesh has whatever the fuck he wants.
Gate of Babylon, I guess.
Gate of Babylon and also Ea. Lancelot is just like his skill, Eternal's arms mastery is more or less his noble phantasm, where any weapon is just I know how to use it. Yeah. And then like you have reality marbles with Iskandar and just like beams. You have just fucking kamehamehas out of swords that are also noble phantasms, and it's rather cool.
Excalibur.
Yeah. So it's like that's a really cool thing that Zero like sets the precedent for. And it's like, even though I don't like the series from a personal note, like I would say that if you are trying to sell this show to somebody, it is an easy to follow Grail War, and it does a lot to set up what this universe can be.
Yeah, and I know a lot of people that like Fate Zero as opposed to like Unlimited Blade Works or the rest of Fate's Day Night is because it's a lot more gritty and like serious as opposed to like Fate's Day Night, which is there's a lot more goofier moments and stuff like that. So.
Which I don't think that's necessarily like a bad thing. Like there's like Fate is such a huge umbrella where there are like those series that are a lot darker and a lot more like serious focused. Type Redline comes to mind immediately, but that's why I recommend UBW first, because I feel like it's more reminiscent of like the tone of the overall greater series.
Right.
Like even stuff like Strange Fake, which is more serious, has plenty of comedic moments.
Yeah, I mean you literally have Gilgamesh in it. Like,
I was gonna say,
it's impossible to not have comedic moments.
You have Gilgamesh, you have the true saber of Strange Fake, who's fucking raw, by the way. I love him
That's
so much.
That's so cool.
Yeah, no, I
I'm
can't-
so excited for that anime, dude.
dude. You need to read Strange Fake. You are going to love Strange
I know.
Fake.
I'm excited for it.
Anyway, and then yeah, that's more or less like everything about Zero. Out of 10, what would you rate it?
So
Like,
I've had
biases
to
aside.
I've had to do a little bit more thinking on it just because of some of the points that you brought up and like my own thinking about it. And I think like as of now, I would probably give it anywhere from like I'd say like a 7 or an 8. Maybe like on the lower end, so probably a 7 is what I would say.
I was gonna say.
I think it's got a lot of good things and it sets up the world very well, but I do understand a lot of the flaws as well with a lot of with a lot of the writing and what they did with some of the characters like Saber.
Yeah, that's my biggest gripe with it. Like for every character that I really really like, there's at least another one that I absolutely hate.
Or just like a bastardization of like a characterization.
Because like Saber has some really really cool scenes, but she's not the same Saber from like Stay Night. They're completely different characters.
Right.
And Iskandar, I get why people like him. I don't.
That's valid.
I get why people like Kiritsugu. I don't.
That is also valid.
But I fucking love Gil. I fucking love Kirei. I think Tokiomi is a really interesting perspective into the Mage Association. Yep. I think Karya is a really interesting tragedy, not for the reason that a lot of people think he is. I think he's a great idea of like, I am the hero of my own story, even though he's like Raid, how like he is the villain the whole time.
Yeah.
There's a lot of really cool things here. The story is like tight for what it is. The production value is undeniably gorgeous.
Especially for being in what, 2010?
2011. This is a 2011 series that looks better than half of what's coming out now.
Yeah.
Like, it is remarkable how gorgeous this show is, and I don't like it. It is the most like me thing where this show is explicitly designed to be not for me as a like super simp for Stay Night.
Yeah.
But I can't deny that it is at least a 7.5 out of 10. It is a really, really good show, and I can recommend it in good faith. I just don't like it. It's just not for me.
For sure. Which is great because that means we can go on to the thing that we both unanimously like. Fate Stay Night.
Yeah. Stay Night is wonderful.
The catalyst for me getting back into anime, basically. Man.
Back into it. This is what made you into like an actual weeb instead of just like Ruby and My Hero Academia. You're welcome.
I've grown up a bit.
Yeah, a little bit. Yes. So we've talked about it before. Stay Night is 3 different routes: Fate route, UBW, and Heaven's Feel. We're gonna go start with the Fate route because it's like the first one.
Yep. And I'll kind of let you do most of the talking on this just because I haven't technically read the actual route yet, and there isn't a good anime adaptation of it. There is an anime adaptation, but it's not good.
Yeah. So the Fate route is pretty easy to explain. You get into like your initial summoning of all of the servants, and like we start with Rin in like what would be episode 0, how she summons Archer because she is a little bit of a klutz and like mistimed it by a couple minutes.
I guess we could also, we could do the same thing we do with Fate Zero, kind of go over like who we have for this Girl War. So you have Rin Tosaka, who is Tokiyomi's daughter.
Mm-hmm. She summons forth Archer, who is, we'll get to that in a second.
Shiro, who accidentally becomes part of the Holy Grail War, and accidentally summons the most powerful servant as well.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah,
just because of happenstance. Just happenstance.
Lancer Kukulane has a master that we find later in this route. Caster Medea has a master that we find in a different route. Assassin is, or I guess I should say, Caster is Medea. Assassin is Sasaki Kojiro, who has a master we find out in UBW. Berserker is Heracles, summoned by Ilya. And Rider is Medusa, definitely Shinji's servant.
Definitely. Definitely Shinji's servant.
Yeah. Yep. So the Fate route is like, if Zero is like by the numbers, like this is how a Holy Grail War is played out, Fate route is like, that's mostly how it works. It establishes rules of like how the Grail War should function, and then just like leaves out information so that it can break those rules later on.
Right.
Because like for example, the first 2 servants we're introduced to are Archer and Lancer, and we know immediately that like, okay, no normal ass human being should know that servants are real. They should not know that this exists. So Rin does a lot of her scouting at night, which is part of why Stayed Night. Haha. And when
is that actually why they called it that?
It's like a pun on like Ayo. It's the real lore is it's a pun on like Saber being a knight. And it's like, stay with me, knight.
That's not actually. You're lying to me.
I wish I was.
Oh my god.
Anyway,
I'm so mad.
So when they see that like there's a normal human being that like saw Archer and Lancer fighting, they're like, I'm gonna kill him real quick, and then Lancer stabs Shiro, and then Rin
Punctures his heart, actually.
Yeah, with Gable, whatever the fuck you want to call it. Rin brings him back to life because she has this like jewel that she's poured years and years and years worth of mana into. She like resuscitates him magically, which shouldn't be possible, but it is. Shiro hobbles his way home, gets almost stabbed by Lancer again. Like runs into his shed, brings out Saber somehow, and then Saber's like, "Ayo, you're my master." It's that iconic shot. And then Saber fights off Lancer. Rin wanders in and is like, "Ayo, you alive?" Saber almost kills Archer, and then Rin becomes Shiro's best friend.
Kind of.
Yeah. She teaches them about how Magecraft actually works. They like more or less team up for the rest of the Fate route. And then like the primary antagonist for the first half of the Fate route is actually Ryder.
Yes.
Because when Shiro goes to the church, gets like the proper introduction, properly announces, "Hey, I'm a master now."
Which happens pretty much in every single route.
Yeah, so. that is just like a guaranteed thing that happens. They have the fight against Berserker. Shiro doesn't want Saber to die, so he shoves her out of the way, gets fucking murked, but not really because he has Avalon inside his chest, so he comes back to life.
I guess that is a point we could make, by the way. Kiritsugu basically fused Avalon inside of Shiro.
Yes.
So that Shiro will always have that, and basically anytime that Saber is nearby, he will just heal himself.
Yeah.
So
it's like Wolverine, more or less.
More or less, yeah. Wolverine if he had to have like his best friend nearby at all times.
Right. Wolverine if he actually had Jean Grey.
Yeah. Basically.
But so that happens, and they form like their alliance more or less. Shiro decides, "Hey yo, I know that I'm a shitty master. I'm a shitty mage. I can't provide you with a lot of like the mana that you need. So like, but we're not going to resort to killing people, right?" And Saber's like, "Good. I don't want to kill people.
I don't want to do that."
Yeah. So they're going out to like essentially like also while scouting for other servants, like kind of protect some people.
Yeah.
And then they first meet Ryder, and then they have the first couple fights with Ryder. It ends up going, does some combat, and then Saber gets brutally injured on top of a skyscraper when Ryder charges into Excalibur.
Yep.
And that also greatly weakens Saber as well, because that used up like a lot of the mana that she had.
Wait, so Ryder did that in the original Fate route?
Yeah. But she fucking died.
Wait. We'll talk about it later, but
yeah,
Heaven's Feel.
We'll get to that.
Yeah.
We'll get to that.
Wow. Okay, that just blew my mind actually.
Yeah. So that
we'll talk about it in a second, but
so that happens in the Fate route. Shiro's had like this whole like weird kind of like he'd seen Ilya a couple times as well, just like in the town. Ends up getting into the Einsburn castle somehow. It was more or less abducted, and then Rin and Saber get on a like prison break mission to get him out. And in the process of doing that, they are on the run from Heracles, and they're like, "Ayo, Archer, can you buy us time?" And he's like, "I'll do you better than just buy you time. I'm going to take some of his lives," because Heracles has 12 lives for like the 12 labors of Hercules.
Yep.
Then they find refuge for the night in a broken down church.
Really quick, by the way, going back to that point. So if it's the 12 labors of Hercules, why is he called Heracles?
His Greek name is Heracles. His Roman name is Hercules.
Oh, okay. That makes way more sense.
Yeah.
I always got confused by that. I'm like, are these two different people?
No, it's the same, like Mars versus Ares. It's like different.
Right, yeah.
The different gods have different names if they're Greek or Roman. They stay the night in the church. Depending on the version of your story that you're reading, Rin either just did a magic ritual or they fucked. And then they wake up in the morning and they're like, "All right, we're going to finish this hike." Berserker comes out of nowhere and it's like, kill. Rin does some magic. It doesn't really work. Saber projects Caliburn, which is like the original blade for like Excalibur. And together, tag teaming with Saber, they super swing, kill Berserker, and then adopt Ilya. And then they bring Ilya back to Shiro's house and it's like, "You are my sister now. We're going to cook for you." And she says, "Okay."
Okay, sure.
They go back to Shiro's house. Everyone's having a jolly good time. House gets sieged by Medea, except not really because Gilgamesh kills Medea. That's kind of sad, but it happens, so we move on.
Happens to the best of us.
Yeah, honestly. Saber sees Gil and's like, oh, that's Gilgamesh. I'm terrified because it's fucking Gilgamesh.
It's fucking Gilgamesh, and she knows who that is.
Yeah.
So it's also worth noting that Saber actually retained all of her memories from the last Grail War that she was in with Kiritsugu. So
Yes.
she knows who Shiro is.
No.
No, she doesn't.
No. She knows who Kiritsugu is.
She knows who Kiritsugu is.
Yeah,
she knows who Gilgamesh is.
Yeah. When she hears the name Emiya, she recognizes the Emiya surname. She doesn't recognize Shiro.
Emiya. I'm sorry. Go on.
Yeah, basically. So then Shiro and Saber. Shiro finally admits to himself, I think she's really cute. I want to take her on a date. They go on a date and they go to like the bridge and then they're like in the town. It's adorable. And then they have like the scene where they're like more or less falling out with each other and they're like, what the fuck, man? Why you gotta be so women shouldn't fight? And he's like, I just don't want you to die, man. And then they like have that confrontation and he just like walks off. He's like, fine, you can do your own shit. And he doesn't realize like, oh, you're a blonde European in Japan. You don't know anything.
You don't know anything.
This could go really poorly. So then he gets home, realizes Saber isn't there, runs back to the bridge, and they reconcile immediately because you have to have the emotional drama. Then Gilgamesh appears and fucking kills them both almost.
Yep.
Shiro like does the thing where he's dying but gets back up to keep on fighting, and he's becoming swords, and it's cool as hell, and I fucking love it. Gilgamesh is like, you're staining my boots. I'm gonna leave now. and then Shiro just like fucking collapses in Saber's arms. They go back home. He just survived getting stabbed multiple times and is dying. So of course they have sex.
I was about to say, is that another?
Yep, of course they have sex. They wake up. Shiro goes to the church. Realizes Gilgamesh is powered by children batteries. Saber runs to the church. And is like, you're being held prisoner and are almost dying. This is bad. This is very, very bad. I'm going to try to save you now. And then that's where it's revealed that Kirei is Lancer's master.
Yep.
And it's like, oh shit, he's also Gilgamesh's master. That's pretty fucked. And Lancer's like, yeah, that's pretty fucked. What the hell, man? And Kirei and Gil are like, yeah, sorry, you were just a scout. We're going to kill you now. And Lancer's like, okay, well, I'm going to not take that lying down. I'm going to fight and try to kill this guy. You two can leave. I want to kill Goldie here by myself. He tries. It doesn't work, but he tries. But Saber and Shiro...
This just in. Lancer dies.
Yeah, that's a recurring bit. But Shiro and Saber are able to get out. They get home, and he's like, all right, I'm alive now. What are we going to do? I don't know. Let's ask Rin. They get home. Rin's been fucking stabbed in the chest.
Yep.
She is, like, barely alive. And then she's like, Kirei stabbed me. Here's this knife, by the way. You should stab him. And Shiro's like, okay. They go back into the fucking shed, and they come up with a game plan. It's like, okay, you're the only one that can fight Gil, but you're going to fucking die to Aya. And she's like, yeah. So what are we going to do? And he's like, I'll give you back Avalon. She's like, are you sure? But then you'll die. And he's like, you're more important than me. Let's be honest. I'm a shitty-ass mage. You're fucking broken. And she's like, all right, fair enough.
Fair enough.
So he gives her back Avalon. They go up to Ryudo Temple, and they like have one last like heartfelt goodbye. He goes to kill Kirei. She goes to kill Gil. She walks through Aya because she is legitimately like immortal, immune to damage, on like walking on another plane, stabs Gil. Gil dies and is like, well, at least you're pretty, so I don't care. And Shiro gets doused in mud.
In classic Gil fashion.
Yeah. Shiro gets doused in mud. It's just, bounces it off him, and then runs up and stabs Kirei, and then punches the dagger in. And Kirei's like, this is the same knife that I used to kill Tokiomi. Why do you have this? And he says, a friend gave it to me. And says, I had friends once. I killed them all. And then dies. And then together they kill the Grail. And then Saber says, Shiro, I love you. And then dies. And that's the Fate route.
Your quick synopsis on the Fate route.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Fate is awesome.
So yeah.
It's not the best route, but it's fucking fun.
So yeah, the original route focuses definitely on Saber more often than anyone. So then we move over to the next route, which is UBW, which is more focused on Rin.
Yeah, it's Rin is the main heroine. It's also a lot of like Shiro and Archer. It's their route as well. And like it's very apparent where the differences are by it being like instead of it just being Saber versus Heracles for the first fight, it's Saber and Archer versus Heracles.
We should mention also that each route has Shiro grappling with a different kind of ideology.
Yes.
So the first one is basically fighting for.
It's like the way that I break it down is the first route is more or less Shiro like coming to terms with like, okay, here's my ideal. It's fairly unrealistic, so here's like a more realistic way for me to go about this.
Yeah.
And then UBW is him being like, here's my ideal. I know that it's unrealistic. I don't care. I'm going to chase this in its full, purest, raw form anyways.
Yeah.
So, and UBW, it starts off with Rin and Shiro starting like as like allies against Heracles.
You get 2 episode zeros this time.
Yeah,
you get 2 40-minute episodes. One that focuses on Rin and her events leading up to the beginning of the Grail War, and then Shiro's events leading up to the Grail War.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think the first one is Rin.
Yeah. And episode 0 is true across every like fate route.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Those are always that stuff happens. Shiro's stuff always happens until the Heracles fight.
Yeah. So we've already been over like I guess what we didn't really go over was like a little bit more in depth was Rin's summoning of Archer.
Yeah.
So she tried to summon. I don't know who she tried to summon.
She tried to summon the Saber because it's the strongest.
That's
class.
what it was. Yeah. She tried to summon Saber, and fucked it up because she did it like an hour late or something.
Yeah.
It was something like that, and then ended up getting Archer instead.
Yep.
So,
she ended up getting Archer instead. Well, wacky things happen. They end up going to the church as well. The two tag team against Heracles. They end up. Archer throws a tactical nuke at the cemetery where they're fighting Heracles, and Shiro recognizes it and says, "Ah, shit, that's a fucking tactical nuke. We need to duck." And Saber's like, "What?" And they duck, and then Heracles loses a couple of his lives because it's a fucking nuke.
Get wrecked, Shiro.
And then Ilya's like, this might not work out too great. I'm going to leave now.
I'm gonna leave.
Bye. And then Rin and Shiro basically just have this scene where they're like, okay, we're not going to continue this for tonight because we're both pretty drained, but don't come to school tomorrow. And then Shiro goes to school tomorrow.
Don't come to school tomorrow.
And then what does Shiro do? He goes to school tomorrow. It says, "Hi, Rin." She gives the meme face. And then after school, Rin's like, "Hey, Shiro, can you come here real quick?" "Yeah, what's up?" She tries to kill him.
Yeah. So, yeah, Rin has like the moment where she's like, "I don't want you to be alive."
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
tries to kill him. Doesn't
Yep.
work.
Really well animated fight. by
Very
the way.
well animated. And then they both get trapped in the school.
Yep.
Because of Ryder.
Yep. And then stuff happens. Ryder does her like Noble Phantasm thing where it like entraps the school and is gonna like suck the life out of everyone. And then they go to the teacher's lounge and Ryder skull does a 180 and she's not alive anymore.
Yep.
And they're like,
Cool.
she shouldn't do that.
Cool.
What's this? There's a bunch of bone creatures that are wandering about, and then Saber ends up coming face to face with Caster Medea.
Yep.
And Medea's fucking wonderful, and I love her.
She's pretty cool. She's
Yeah.
very, very cool. I was very glad that they made her like the villain for the first like half of it, basically.
Yeah. No, she's one of my like favorite underrated characters in Stay Night for sure.
Yeah.
Because it feels like she's the least talked about servant.
Yeah. And then so basically what you come to find out after another encounter with Medea is that her master is actually one of Shiro's teachers.
Mm-hmm. Soichiro.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he is like, he's also kind of like anti-mage
Yeah.
in a way, kind of like Kiritsugu was. But it's more like hand-to-hand combat.
Yeah.
His abilities are just insane.
Yeah. And it helps that he's being amplified by Medea.
Right.
So like
yeah.
if it was just his like regular hand-to-hand, he'd be like a really, really skilled martial artist, but not like super threatening to these like
mages,
heroic spirit. No, like threatening to mages, but not these like heroic spirits. But because he's being boosted by like more or less a demigod, he's able to beat Saber in their first fight.
Yep. So yeah. So Saber, Rin, and Shiro basically try to get the jump on Medea, and that that's when they find out that Soichiro.
Yeah.
And they have like a fight there, and then Shiro, who is trying to protect his people, does. So we should also mention that Shiro's like magecraft that he can do is basically refining objects to make them stronger.
Yes. It's
Tough. Like it makes them more durable.
Yeah. It's enhancement and then also projection. So he sees sword, he can create sword. As long as it is an earthly blade, he can like recreate like a hollow shell of it.
And that was
then
the first instance of that was that fight against Medea where he actually summoned archers' swords because he was like, those swords are cool.
Basically, yeah.
Yeah.
So he summons out Honsho and Bakuya.
Sure.
They have names.
They have
I can't
names.
remember the names.
We'll put them on screen.
They're like yin yang swords. They're really fucking cool.
True.
And then that's where Rin is like, oh, you don't just like do lame ass tracing magic. You're a holy sword photocopier. And he says, sure.
Whatever that means. Sure.
Yeah. And then he learns how to fight with Saber, and she gets really upset that he isn't using her sword style. He's using Archer's. And she's like, well, you're not gonna die, but like, the fuck am I here for then?
Yeah, what is my purpose if you're not going to actually fight like I do, I show you?
Yeah, and then she gets really sad, but it's okay because he cooks really well.
Yep.
And she in the VN, she low-key has a crush on him. In the anime, it's a very professional relationship between them.
Yep.
And then Rin takes Shiro and Saber out on a date before Medea ruins everything, and Archer conveniently doesn't do anything about it.
Yeah, Medea basically sucks them into like a portal to like a different dimension, basically.
Yep.
Where she also has Taiga held captive, which basically causes Shiro to have like a dilemma of like, oh fuck, what do I do?
Yeah, give up Saber or to save Taiga, or keep Saber. Taiga dies.
Yeah, because Medea's like offer that she gave to Shiro because she had Taiga was, I can give you Taiga, but you have to give me Saber. Because that's like Medea's whole thing was what she just wanted Saber.
Yep. And that's what he ends up doing.
Yep.
It's worth noting that it's a different scene in the visual novel. It's not a pocket dimension on a bridge. It's in Shiro's house.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
So kind of a cool change there. And then Shiro
Archer doesn't do shit.
Yeah. So more or less at this point, Shiro is out of the Grail War. He doesn't have a servant. He doesn't have command seals. He's essentially no longer a master. So like, why is he here? He doesn't know, and he is like trying to figure out what the best thing to do going forward is. And Rin's like, dude, I'm gonna be honest. I think you're hot. I don't want you to die. Back out of this. I got this, Chief.
Yeah.
And then she goes to the church because that's where Medea has set up shop now. And turns out she does not, in fact, got this because Archer decides to betray them.
Yep.
And turn back and say, "Ayo, y'all fucking suck. I'm gonna team up with the witch." And then he does. And then Rin overworks her brain a little bit, and Shiro's like, "Dude, it's okay." And then she cries, and then they cry in a cemetery. And then they form an alliance with Lancer to go steal the church. Yep. And they do.
Yeah, so Archer basically betrays them because he thinks that they're both dumb and not doing what needs to be done.
Yeah.
So he's like, I'm just going to try and win this myself. Fuck you guys.
Or at least that's what we think.
That's what we think.
Yeah.
They team up with Lancer. They end up going back to the church again. Lancer and Archer fight, which is really fucking cool.
Yep.
And that's actually the second time they fight because they fight in the beginning as well.
Yes. Shiro and Rin fight Medea and Soichiro, and they end up actually winning because Rin's like, "Oh, I'm using all of my like magic gems to like get close, and then when I get close, I can actually just punch this witch, and she can't do anything about it."
Yep.
So she does, and then it's like Soichiro turns around and is like, I need to try to kill you, and then Archer kills him, and then kills her, and then they have Saber back, and then whoa, it's awesome.
And then Archer's like, by the way. Here's my reality marble.
Yeah, and they realize, oh shit, you're Shiro. It's like, yeah, I'm Shiro. I want to kill myself. Not me, myself. That myself.
Not me, you.
Yeah. Instead, he brings the reality marble, tries to kill Shiro. Saber forms a contract with Rin, or Rin contracts Saber.
Yep.
And
then Saber also makes a point to Shiro that he is still her master, quote unquote.
Yeah, like it's like a shared like agreement where it's like, yeah, you summoned her, I'm using her. Like it's like the podcast equipment. You bought it, where I'm using it.
Sure.
Yeah.
Great example.
I'm bringing this back to reality, baby. But so that's what happens. Archer ends up abducting Rin actually to go back to the Einsburn Castle as a part of some wacky bullshit with Shinji and Gilgamesh. Gilgamesh and Kirei were alive the whole time. Gil really, really wants people to die. So Archer's like, all right, as long as I get to kill that myself, then you can do whatever you want.
Really quick, I'm gonna pause because I just thought of something that might freak me out if it happens. So I'm gonna take care of that.
Okay. While they're doing that, I'm going to use the bathroom. Ah!
I just realized the camera was still
Oh,
and I was not out there, so I was like,
good call. Good.
I heard things moving around out there, and I was just like, I'm just gonna make sure my cat doesn't fucking burn the entire apartment down.
That's a good call.
Yeah. Anyway, we're back.
Yeah. Shiro and Archer have a big fight in the Ironsburn Castle. Archer's like, "Hey, yo, your dream is stupid." And Shiro's like, "Yeah, but it's mine." And Archer's like, "Fair enough. You can stab me now."
You did miss a little bit. You forgot about Gilgamesh and Berserker.
Yeah, I did forget about the Gilgamesh Berserker fight. That was before the Castle Siege Part 2.
Gil basically shows up because he knows that Ilya has like
she is the Holy Grail.
She is the Holy Grail. So he
Grail.
shows up to basically kill her.
Yep.
And steal it.
Yep. And he uses his Chains of Enkidu to kill Heracles.
Yep.
And then stabs Ilya. You cried, and then just like takes her heart and is like, "This will be the Grail now. Just give me a little bit." And then fast forward a little bit back to where we were. Archer ends up getting stabbed in the gut, but it's fine. Everything's fine. And then Gil appears, kills Archer, and says, "All right, y'all can leave. I'm just gonna fucking use this heart to create a Grail and kill the world for my own amusement."
Shinji starts bitching at Gilgamesh, and he's like, "You know what? I have an idea.
You're the Grail now." Turns Shinji into a vile creation of mass and flesh. And then Shiro is like, "Well, fuck, what's our game plan, team? We have a saber, a really good mage, and then me. What's the plan?"
What's the plan, team?
And Ren's like, "All right, come here." Shiro's like, "What?" Ren's like, "We fucking."
We're fucking.
And so then Rin and Shiro fuck.
Or if you're watching the anime, it's just
they take off their shirts, and then she puts her hand on his chest, says, "Ah, you're hot. Here's my mana."
basically.
That was weird. I'm gonna leave. Or they fuck. And then Shiro's like, "Oh, you have way more mana than I do." And she says, "Yeah, I'm a good mage." She's like, "I fucking suck at this." She says, "Yeah, you do."
Basically what Rin does is give Shiro the ability to summon the reality marble that Archer could.
Yeah. And then using that,
which we should mention is called Unlimited Blade Works. Hence the name.
Right. So then in the final conflict, Shiro summons Unlimited Blade Works to combat Gilgamesh. And it's actually revealed that UBW, the reality marble, is the perfect counter to the Gate of Babylon.
Yep.
Because Gil has access to every noble phantasm. He's the kid on the playground that says, "My superpower is to have every superpower." And Shiro is like, "Me too." So then he throws...
Fuck you.
Like, if Gil throws this specific sword, Shiro throws a copy of it back, and they cancel out.
Yep.
And it goes all the way. Shiro is able to, like, best him in combat and
which, by the way, one of the coolest fights I've ever seen. That fight is so cool.
It's so fucking
Not
good.
even just I mean obviously the animation and everything is amazing as it is, but like their song choice was the Emiya theme for Unlimited Blade Works, and that is just like masterpiece.
Yeah. The perfect example of choreography, direction, animation, and sound design coming together to create a perfect fight scene.
And also, you know, breaking down the character of Gilgamesh, who up to this point was a cocky bastard, now on his back foot, like, oh shit, I might actually lose.
Yeah, and it's when Shiro is getting him to that last legs, like, when he's getting ready to, like, hit him with the final attack, Gil reaches for Aya, and then has his arm sliced off and is then fucking killed.
Yeah, the whole reason that actually, I mean, you can actually see it in the anime. The whole reason that ends up happening is because he actually hesitates for a second.
Yeah.
Because he's like, I shouldn't have to do this. You
Yeah.
know, like why do I have to do this? And because of that hesitation, he didn't have time to pull it out and stab Shiro. He just got his arm cut off.
Right. And that's kind of what
So cool.
that's
so
the
cool.
really cool dynamic with Gilgamesh as an antagonist is that anyone else, and that feels so stupid, but because it's Gil and he's a cocky prick, of course he wouldn't want to use his like sacred weapon that separated humanity from the gods.
Yep.
Of course he did not want to use that
Against some dude.
Yeah. Yeah.
Some dude who got his magic second hand.
Yeah.
You know?
And then it's like it happens and it's really fucking cool. Rin, against her better judgment, saves Shinji, even though he definitely tried to rape her earlier. And then Saber does Excalibur callback, kills the Grail of Flesh, and then
Also one of my favorite scenes in that entire show because the music for that is incredible too.
And then Saber's like, "Ayo, Rin, take care of Shiro for me," and then she dies. But in the happy ending, Rin says, "Oh no, you don't. We have a threesome now," and they don't like actually have like the sex threesome. They just have like a throuple. They might later on.
Yeah, they probably do.
Yeah, I mean,
But you also, one of the cooler parts about UBW 2 is when you get to the end and after Saber disappears, you actually get like a time skip of sorts where you get to see where Rin and Shiro are a couple years in the future, where they actually both are attending, like the mage school in London. Yeah, which is really really cool. And you also get like a funny little character interaction between Shiro and Waver as an adult.
Yeah,
which is really really cool. Because Waver was, I like Waver. I think he's pretty cool.
Yeah, Waver.
I thought he was kind of a bitch to begin with in Fate Zero, but like I think that was kind of the point. You know, he had to learn how to grow up a little bit.
Waver is a fine character. El Malloy is a really good character.
Right. Yeah.
But that's where it's like, you know, jumping on that as well. Like Shiro never got to say goodbye to Saber in UBW.
Yeah.
So they go to what was like King Arthur's grave, basically. And then he gets the chance to like properly apologize to her.
Oh,
and
that,
like say goodbye.
But you also like before that time skip happens, you also get Rin talking to Archer's like projection, like right before he disappears.
Yeah.
And Archer basically telling her, "Take care of me."
Yeah.
You know,
more or less.
Like take care of my person that I am now.
Yep.
You know,
and then
you get to see Archer smile, and it breaks my heart every time.
Yeah. It's a really cool like moment where they both get to say goodbye to each other.
Yeah.
And it's one of the moments that's like, man, even though UBW is probably worse than Zero, I love it so much more.
I do too.
It's
right now I think I have because I have my anime list. I have Fate Zero sitting at a 7. I think I have UBW still sitting at a 9 because I love that show so much.
I think I have UBW closer to an 8, because like if you don't know Fate lore, like why the fuck is Caster Assassin's Master? Like if you don't know the lore and you don't know that like this shit just kind of happens.
Oh yeah, that was actually a point that we kind of glossed over. Because Assassin's Master is Caster.
Yeah.
So
and it's kind of cool.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's cool, but it's like, why is this? That's neat.
He does the 3 strikes in 1 second.
Yeah,
Tsubamagaishi. Yeah, that's such a cool name.
Dude, Tsubamagaishi is so fucking sick.
Tsubamagaishi.
I have more to say about Assassin when we get to like an FGO episode.
Yeah.
Play FGO.
Yeah.
That's to you.
Yeah.
Do it for the. Well, you have to do it for the podcast.
I know. I have to do it for the podcast. God damn it. I'm already playing 2 gacha games.
Make it 3.
I don't want to.
But yeah, no. So it's like, I wouldn't call it better than Zero at all, but it's a lot more fun, and that's why I would have it at like an 8.
Yeah.
One thing that like everyone who has watched the full series though agrees on is that like Heaven's Feel is the best.
Literally, yes.
Yeah,
like there's zero question in my mind that should be the opinion.
Yeah. And the crazy thing to me is it's like if you've played the visual novel, like you usually prefer the route above all else because the Heaven's Feel route is fucking phenomenal.
Correct. Yes.
But with that being said,
moving on,
the anime adaptation is also excellent.
Oh my god, dude! So Heaven's Feel is the final route of Fate, and it is Sakura's story. Who you don't honestly like in both UBW and the original Stay Night route, you don't actually really do much with Sakura.
Yeah,
she's
she's there.
just kind of there. She's like an adorable sister, that kind of thing.
More or less.
Heaven's Feel is like, no. There is more to this character than you understand.
Yes.
Which puts a lot of perspective into a lot of really like fucked up shit that you think about in the previous routes.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So if you remember in Fate Zero, the whole point that Karya was doing what he was doing was because he was trying to protect Sakura, because she was basically being used by Zoken to do whatever the hell Zoken wanted, I guess.
Yeah. More or less like inherit the Mato family crest to then become like the next coming of Zoken
and obtain the Holy Grail because of that.
Yeah.
So, and the way he did that was by pushing a bunch of bugs inside of her and taking her innocence.
Yeah.
They're
called
poor girl.
They are called crestworms. They look like peni.
Yay. It's really gross.
Everything you're thinking about is very true.
It's very true. It's very unfortunate too.
Mm-hmm.
But
and this all starts happening when she is very young,
like a kid, literally a kid,
which is just vile.
Yeah. It's disturbing, but it definitely goes into play as to how fucking terrible of a human being that Zoken. Human being, I don't even know if you could consider him a human.
I don't think you could. Just like
weird looking
essence,
bug,
like thing. Yeah. Zoken is a thing.
He's a thing.
He isn't it.
So the Heaven's Feel 1 starts off kind of going into how Sakura and Shiro met. Because that's kind of like the whole dynamic of the entirety of the series is Sakura basically ran away from home. And ended up at Shiro's front doorstep.
Yep.
And basically was like, "Let me in, please."
Yeah.
I am suffering.
High jump kid.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, because it goes back to Sakura seeing Shiro in like the school grounds.
Yep.
Attempting the high jump, failing every time, but attempting it.
Yeah, trying his best every single time.
And she was like, "Wow, I wanted." Yeah. I want to be with that guy.
Yeah, more or less. And she also knew who Shiro was because he was friends with Shinji when they were both in the archery club.
Right.
He got hurt, so then Sakura came over to like help, and then also like, please don't let me be at home right now.
Yeah, I don't want to be at home with the bugs. Please just let me run away, please.
Yeah, but she doesn't say like anything about the bugs.
Yeah,
like,
so she basically grows up there. Becomes Shiro's like handmaid basically.
Yeah, more or less
for a while.
Best friend / like younger sister energy. But she definitely has a crush on him, and he's too dense to realize that he feels the same way.
Yep.
So
yeah, then you kind of cut to like the main timeline of where we are now.
Yeah, you get like the stay night like initial happening where like, here, what the fuck? The fuck is that? What in the fuck is that shit? Huh?
So Gavin downloaded Spotify on my computer, and sometimes it just opens and starts playing music.
What the fuck?
I need to uninstall
Gavin
that.
did that?
Yeah, when he was here like visiting, he downloaded
what the
Spotify
fuck?
on my computer so he could listen to music.
That's so wacky.
Anyway, sorry about that.
So
I had ghost Spotify on my computer.
That was neat. Yeah, so the initial happenings of Stay Night happens, but this time, Shiro and Sakura, or not, pardon me, Shiro and Saber are out doing their like saving the town thing. They fucking just like kill Ryder. Ryder's just fucking dead.
Yep.
And then Zoken appears and is like, Shinji, you fucking suck. And Shinji's like, Grandpa, I'm sorry. And he says, nah, to the house with you. I will smack the shit out of you later.
Yep.
Emiya, you're right.
Good shit.
Bye.
Nice work.
Yeah, and then he dips out of there, and then Shiro goes home and is like, oh, well, some wacky shit's happening. I need to make sure that Sakura doesn't get caught up in all this wacky shit. And he's like, tells Sakura, hey, yo, you want to like stay at my place for a little bit so that you don't end up getting hit by any unfortunate serial killings that are happening, and they're just serial killings. Yep, nothing more. Yep. and Sakura has like the emotional moment where she's like,
okay.
And
sure.
She stays at his house for a little while. Some weird stuff's happening in Fuyuki.
People are disappearing and dying and all that kind of stuff.
And a lot of it we see as the audience. Assassin Sasaki Kojiro has assassin Cursed Arm Hassan erupt from his chest. And Kojiro dies. Cursed Arm kills Medea. And just goes on a fucking killing spree.
Yep.
There's this weird ass like shadow thing that's just like appearing in town randomly.
Yep. So I think the first introduction to that was actually after the it was during the Lancer assassin fight. So by the way, Lancer assassin fight.
Yeah.
I don't know how they made the animation better
Yeah.
than the UBW, but my God, that fight is incredible.
Yeah. And that's like more or less a throwaway scene in the VM too, where it's like it's just like Lancer being like, "Ayo, I know what you are. I'm gonna kill you." Christian be like, "No, you're not." Runs to the lake. Ku dies. And then it's like, "Oh, well, this is unfortunate."
Yeah. So basically, they have this whole fight. They're on trucks and shit, going through the highways and fucking each other up. It's really cool.
Yeah.
But then they end up at a lake. And while Lancer is trying to kill assassins, suddenly these tentacles come out of the lake.
Mm-hmm.
God only knows what the fuck those are. Who knows?
They're the imaginary element.
Yeah. And then eventually Zoken decides to use his Noble Phantasm, which is
Cursed Arm.
Cursed Arm.
Yeah, Cursed Arm erupts his arm, and it's called Zabania.
Zabania, that's what it was. Yeah.
And then just like grabs his heart, crushes it. Ku dies.
Gets corrupted by whatever the tentacle things are. And
he gets consumed. He gets eaten. Yeah.
Literally gets eaten.
Yeah, munch. And then that's a weird thing that happens, and nobody knows what's going on for a little bit.
So
the shadow keeps popping up in Fuyuki, and the next time we see it is Shiro and Saber meeting up with Rin and Archer.
Yeah. And then they see the shadow, Zoken's there, and and then Shiro like touches like the black goop coming from the shadow and basically just has like a heart attack.
More or less, yeah. And then everyone's like, "Are you okay?
What the fuck just happened?"
Yeah. And then Archer, who normally wants to kill himself, is like, "I can't kill this myself now. This is a way higher priority. I need to kill this shadow thing."
Right.
They spend like a lot of the route just like trying to figure out what the shadow is. And at one point, Shiro and Saber go up to Ryota Temple to try to like get any kind of information they can on it. Saber gets into a fight with Assassin, and Shiro gets into a fight with Zoken, so they're split off from each other. Saber gets baited into a fight against Assassin and ends up getting launched by the shadow
and disappears.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then
Shiro's like, "What the fuck? Where'd you go?" And then while Shiro is fighting Zoken, Shiro's about to like basically die because he's getting eaten alive.
Mm-hmm.
And then a certain character who we thought was dead shows up.
Yeah.
Ryder appears out of nowhere.
Yeah, Ryder
and
appears...
is 10 times more powerful than she was before.
Yeah. So Ryder ends up saving Shiro from both Zoken and Cursed Arm, and then is like, "Ayo, you're alive still. Be fucking grateful." And then dips out. Shiro like walks his sorry ass back home and then
hobbles.
Yeah, and then runs into Sakura.
Well, I should say he spends a little bit of time trying to look for Saber too.
Yeah,
he's like, "What the fuck?" And then he meets the shadow, and then the shadow disappears.
That's all like an adaptation exclusive. That didn't happen in the VN.
Right. Yeah.
Meets Sakura back at home, and then she's
like, "What the
like,
fuck? Why do you look like that?"
Yeah, she's like, "Are you okay?" And he's like, "No, I'm really not." She's like, "Where's Saber?" And he's like, She went home. And she's like,
he can't tell her or he thinks he can't tell her the details because he thinks that she doesn't know.
Yeah. And so then Sakura's like, "Oh, so this means you're not going to be going out at night and getting hurt anymore, right? Right?"
Sure.
And he says, "No, I'm going to keep doing this because I don't want anybody else getting hurt."
Yeah, basically.
And so then in the visual novel, thereafter, they fuck. In the anime, that doesn't happen for a little while.
Yeah. They actually do fuck in the anime this time, though.
It
actually happens this time.
Yeah. Movie 2 happens, and that continues on. We basically just
also, I should mention before we continue on to movie 2, at the very end of movie 1, you see Saber kind of in like a limbo, coming face to face with Saber Alter.
Yes.
God, I love her.
Yeah, Saber Alter is essentially like the dark side of King Arthur.
Yeah.
Is like the best way to explain it.
Yep.
And it's rather cool.
It's very cool. So yeah, movie 2 starts off. I think it actually starts off with like the part where Shiro was like looking for Saber.
Yeah, that's how it starts,
Yep.
and then it cuts immediately into like the next day.
Yeah. If you want to.
So then after that, Shiro like basically finds a time to meet up with Rin, and they're like, "Okay, So what the fuck is this shadow thing? Like, this is a way higher priority than this Holy Grail War. Like, let's be honest. And they spend like a good chunk of the day trying to figure out what their game plan is. And then it is brought to their attention that some wacky shit's happening at the school. So they run there as fast as they can, and they see that Sakura is being held captive, quote unquote, by Shinji.
Yep.
And then he's like, "Ayo, Shiro, come alone, and I'm gonna beat the shit out of you." And then he has Ryder beat the shit out of him because Shinji's a piece of shit. And then Ryder's like, "Well, you're alive, so here you go. You can punch the shit out of him and try to save Sakura now." He does, and then Rin breaks through the window with Archer, and then
heroicism.
Yeah, it's great. And then they beat the shit out of Shinji. He bails, but not before he's like, "Ayo, Sakura, you're actually Ryder's master this whole time, right?"
Which is why she's so damn powerful.
Yeah.
She's been, consuming magic this whole time.
Yep. And then Sakura regains control of Ryder. Ryder is like, "I'm a fucking goddess."
Yep.
Because she actually is. She's Medusa.
Shinji also, before he had, Shiro show up, basically put like this like thing on her ear, like an earring of sorts that has like a magic elixir, basically.
It's not even magic. It's literally just like a chemical reaction that like it's I'm trying to think what's the word of like something that makes you feel more like intense pleasure. It starts with an A.
Sure.
That word.
That word.
And then Sakura feels like everything all at once, fucking explodes. These like
presumably dies.
Yeah,
or
kind
that's
of
what
dies.
It looks like.
She like these imaginary elements appear, and Ryder is like using like her paralysis like eyes to like start turning Rin, Shiro, and Archer into stone. Sakura is about to kill Rin unconsciously, and then Shiro does the Shiro thing, jumps in the way. Then Sakura sees that he fucking died, and then stabs herself multiple times. And everybody wakes up in the church. Kirei is being a bastard, and he reveals, all right, so she's alive, barely. Rin, do you want her to kill her, or do you want me to? Rin's like, I got this. Shiro's like, why you? And Kirei's like, oh, you didn't tell him that you're sisters?
Yep, and I would say that's also where you get the reveal, technically the reveal, that they're sisters.
Yeah.
Technically, you find out about that in Fate Zero, but
yeah, it's a much better built-up to reveal in Heaven's Feel.
Yes. So yeah, Sakura was originally a Tosaka.
Yeah.
So
and that leads us then into like Rin and Shiro.
Your scene.
Yeah. The park scene, as I have dubbed it, is still my favorite scene in the entire trilogy.
Yep. It's basically Sakura breaking down exactly how she feels.
What's happened to her entire life.
Yep. How the fact that she got defiled by bugs and all that fun stuff. And Shiro's basically like, I don't fucking care.
Yeah. She caps it off with like, I have been so defiled that I'm not worth your protection.
Yeah.
And then Shiro just like embraces her and says, no, if you need someone to like help you repent, I can be that for you. If you need someone to save you, I can be that for you. But you belong to me. You are you are but basically, yeah. And so then the two of them join forces, and he has fully admitted to himself that yes, Sakura is the one that I will protect above all others.
Which goes back to the point that I made where every single route has their own theme for Shiro's ideals, and this one is I will do whatever I can to protect one person.
Yes. And that's the coolest thing about Heaven's Feel to me as well, is it's just like it feels like
it feels like a completely 180s on what Shiro originally believed in.
But it makes so much sense for his character.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's where it's like after that you get some really, really cool anime only fights. Well, not anime only. Like Salter Berserker does happen in the VN, but it's much better elaborated on.
Yeah, you come across this fight between Berserker and this unknown masked person who we definitely don't recognize.
Yep. It's rather cool.
I always loved that they put like the mask on her to make it seem like you don't know who she is, when it's like fucking we all know who she is. Like
yeah, but it's really fucking cool.
Yeah. So Saber has become Salter. She is overpowered as all hell.
Yep.
She spews red shit instead of yellow shit now.
Yeah.
Out of her sword. It's
It's called Excalibur Morgan, and it's rather cool.
It's very cool.
Some
of the coolest animation moments in the entire series.
The best fight in any of the Fuyuki like happens here. Like Salter's Berserker is my favorite Fuyuki fight.
Yep, pretty much.
And then
she kills Berserker.
Oh, single-handedly. Like she takes
Well-
all of Berserker's lives by herself.
Kills Berserker, quote unquote.
No, she kills him. He is dead.
Yeah.
It's the shadow that then like consumes him and
Consumes
then
him
uses him later.
Yeah, and uses him later. Right?
Yeah. So
and that's when Shiro finds out that it is
it's Saber.
Saber, but not Saber.
Yeah.
She runs away.
Yeah. She Saber is then retreated, and then the shadow appears and is like, big spooky shadow. I'm gonna kill all you kids. And then Shiro and Rin just take Ilya and say, all right, we're running. We're gonna go this way now. Archer has a fight with Assassin. Kind of goes bad, but then it goes really, really good. And then the shadow,
and then goes really bad.
yeah, and then the shadow explodes. Shiro loses his arm and is about to bleed out and fucking die before Archer's like, well, either everyone dies or just I die. Here's an arm, kid. Ryder's like, what the fuck are you doing? He's like, I'm giving my arm to the child.
Yeah, Shiro literally loses his entire left arm. Yes, it's like his left. He loses his entire left arm, is about to bleed out and die. So Archer, who is basically on his last legs, is like, well, fuck it. I'm just going to give him my arm because it has a bunch of magic in it and shit.
Yeah.
And fuses it together with Shiro, who then wakes up and is like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
I have a different arm now.
I have an arm that I can't use. This is
really annoying. So it gets wrapped in like a magical seal, basically, because it has too much magical energy for Shiro to be able to control. But Shiro's dumbass is like, maybe let me see what happens. Pulls it up like a centimeter and like almost drowns himself because he's in the tub.
Yeah, it's so on brand for Shiro, and it's so fucking cool.
Yep.
And
yeah,
then
he's basically out of an arm for a while.
Yeah. And then it is revealed to the audience that Sakura is actually the shadow, because that is like the personification of the corrupted Mato Grail.
Yep.
And then while she is doing her feastings while people are vanishing at night, she is going chomp chomp, and Gil sees her and is like, dude, I got a mercy kill. You are beyond salvaging. You have to die. And Sakura gets blasted with fucking holy swords. She is about to die. Her body snaps back together. She says, "No, I'm not." And then munch. Gil gets 8, and then she becomes Super Shadow.
You also have one of the trippiest
The dream sequence.
The dream sequence of Sakura, where she, like this is right before she finds out, or like is about to like
eat Gil,
where she goes to this dream sequence of like a bunch of weird like symbolic shit.
Yeah,
and
has like all
she's eating a bunch of candy, and then you find out the candy is actually just humans. And
yeah, all of the like the stuffed animals that are floating down the river are all of the different servants that she's eaten. Like the fox is Medea,
the lion is Saber.
Yeah, the dog is Ku.
Dude, it's
cool.
It is such a it still gives me the chills when it goes from like the scene of her like about to eat like the piece of candy, and it cuts to her with a finger in her hand.
Yeah,
I'm just like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, Heaven's Feel is fucked, and I love it.
that happened, and then Sakura appears at Shiro's doorstep, bloodied and battered.
Yeah, and then they like piece her body back together more or less, and are like, what? We need to figure out what the fuck is going on. Shiro goes to the Mato house, and Zoken's like, dude, she's the shadow. You're a fucking dumbass. She is the shadow.
She's going to kill you.
Yeah, you have to kill her, or the entire town will die.
Yep.
And that's where Shiro betrays his ideals, and doesn't kill Sakura.
Yep.
And that scene is so much better in the visual novel.
Right.
It's so fucking good. Because like in the VN, like in the anime, he gets ready to like stab Sakura, reminisces of all of like everything, and then just like cries, and then puts the knife down, and then walks out. In the anime, like, or in the VN, he's like getting ready to stab her, and then like doesn't, and then Sakura's like, just fucking do it, fucking kill me. I don't want to destroy this town. And then he says, no, we're gonna find another way. And then essentially like just holds her tight and says, no, we're going to figure out another way to save you.
Yeah.
And then she bails out, goes back to the Mato house, gets
almost raped by Shinji.
Yeah, and then
kills him.
Yeah. She
basically gets fed up.
Yeah.
Like, I've had enough.
Yeah. She slices his neck, and then becomes Dark Sakura,
who is one of the coolest looking fucking characters in the entire. God, she's so fucking cool.
Yeah, Dark Sakura is rather raw.
Which then leads into Peak Fiction.
Yeah.
Movie number 3.
The
most beautiful movie of all time.
Genuinely, it is one of the prettiest animated things I've ever seen, start to finish.
Literally starts off with Shiro showing up at the Mato house, seeing that Shinji is dead. Basically being like, what the fuck?
Neat.
Okay. Well, not even, actually, he doesn't even say what the fuck. He's like, well, I know what happened here.
Yep. And then sees Zoken. Zoken's being a bastard. He's like, oh, well, you're going to get 8 bye now.
Dark Sakura shows up for the first time.
Yep. They are in the Emiya house. She's like, Ayo, Rin, you're a bitch. You're unconscious now with lots of magical wounds. And she just like thinks that Rin is hurt, and then Rin is seriously injured.
Yep. And then Shiro shows up, looks at Sakura. Sakura's like, oh shit, that's Shiro. And then Shiro runs directly towards Rin, and you get one of the coolest pan shots ever of Sakura going from like, oh, that's Shiro, to angry because he ran towards Rin first. That dude, that shot is so good.
That's a really good shot.
But Sakura's basically like, why are you protecting her? Why are you not protecting me?
Yeah, and Shiro's like, dude, this isn't the right way to do this. We have other methods. She's like, no, we fucking don't.
No, we don't.
And
then Sakura tries to kill both of them.
Yep.
Ilya's like, nope, I'll just come with you because I know that I'm the person that you want because I'm the Holy Grail.
Yep.
Salter shows up and stabs Ryder.
Mm-hmm.
That happens.
Yep. They go. Sakura, Ilya, and Salter go back to the Einsburn castle, and then Shiro is like, I'm not going to take this lying down. Ryder's out. There's only one person that I can go to for any kind of help, and he goes to the church and gets Kirei.
Yep.
And Shiro and Kirei teaming up is when you know that everything has gone to shit.
And you get a really funny scene of them driving in a car together.
Yeah, and it's awesome.
But it's also like super important because it goes into Kirei explaining to Shiro like how he thinks as a person.
Yeah.
Which is really fucking warped.
And they're so like they're parallel opposites, right?
Yeah.
It's such a cool like way how they're like, I want to kill everybody because that's what I want to do. Well, I want to save everybody because that's what I want to do. Huh.
Fuck you.
Fuck you. Shake?
Shake? Good. So yeah, they show up at the Einsburn castle. Shiro tries to like figure out where they're at, and you actually get a cool shot of him doing that, like really trying to find where they are, and you see his like the archer arm like twitch kind of.
Yep.
And then Shiro's like, I can't climb up there, and Kirai's like, yes, you can.
And Kirei
chucks him into the window.
Throws him through the window. Shiro crash lands, loses 5 HP, and then stands back up and is like, hey, yo, Ilya, we need to get you the fuck out of here. She's like, why? I'm here so that you don't die. He's like, yeah, I don't want you to die because you're my sister, man. And she's like, dude, what the fuck? He's like, dude, what the fuck? And they scream at each other. Kirei's standing against the wall like a cool dad.
Yep.
And then Shiro eventually is like, dude, you're coming with me. You don't have a say.
Yeah. And then Kirei picks her up like a tiny toddler.
Yeah.
And jumps out the window. Shiro attempts to jump out the window and hurts his legs.
He takes another 5 damage.
And then as Kirei is about to help him up, he swats his hand away and then realizes that he swatted his hand away with the arm that was not working. Yeah. So now his arm is working again.
Yes.
Kind of.
And this is when
Sakura's like, oh, they're here. Okay, Berserker, come on.
Yep. Brings Berserker back out of the old shadow dimension, and then they fucking sprint. They go off as fast as they can. And this is when they're also getting chased down by Assassin. So Kirei's like, all right, I got this guy. Good luck. And then goes off to fight Assassin. So it's just Ilya and Shiro versus Berserker.
Yep.
They run into just this like flat open plain, and then
hide and basically think of a way to go around this. And Shiro's like, there is only one way around this. Yep. I'm gonna take off this bandage.
He pulls off the arm. The coolest version of the Emiya theme plays.
True. Oh my god.
He like channels Archer, is about to like get completely blown away by the arm before Archer's like, dude, you gotta keep up with me. Shiro says, fuck you gotta keep up with me.
Yeah.
Runs
it's
ahead.
So cool. It's so cool, dude.
Just the fucking shot of him holding up his arm and then like Heracles' sword, like giant saw blade, appears in his hand.
And this is when Shiro uses what's called 9 Lives Blade Works, where he literally the whole point is he summons Heracles' weapon.
Yeah. Trace on, trigger off, set 9 Lives Blade Works is so fucking ingrained in my head.
True. And yeah, he kills Berserker.
Mm-hmm.
Berserker basically, as he's about to die, tells him to protect Ilya because he's the only person who can now.
Yep.
And on the other end, you have Kirei fighting Assassin. You actually get a little bit of cool insight as to kind of like Kirei's snap, where he like basically snapped and became like this like hollow shell of a human.
Yep.
Where he had only ever one person that he loved, and she killed herself.
Yeah.
Well, she was in the hospital.
He tried his best to love her, and he just couldn't. And then she like killed herself because she kind of knew the person he was. Said, there, right there, you're crying because you're sad that I'm dying. And he thought to himself, no, I'm sad because I'm not the one that killed you.
I was saying, I didn't get to kill you. That's such a raw line, dude.
I fucking love Kirei. He's so cool.
So, while they're fighting, Assassin tries to use his noble phantasm to kill Kirei. Tries to steal his heart. Quickly realizes there is no heart in his hand, but he actually did still corrupt Kirei to the point where he's. Or no, wait, no. Sakura did that.
Yeah,
that's right. Yeah,
Kirei beats Assassin and then fucking like uses
evaporates him off the planet.
Yeah, he evaporates Zoken, who is also there.
Kyrie Ilieson.
Yeah, uses like this church fucking prayer of like murder, basically.
The most powerful Christian on the planet.
God's strongest soldier. Then as he's walking down from the same sex church from the Fate route, Sakura's like, dude, I'm gonna kill you now. Kira says bet. She says bet, and then fucking like murks him.
Yeah.
And he's like, I'm gonna die in like a day. Cool.
Let me get this taken care of now.
Yeah. We fast forward to a little bit later. Shiro and Ilya meet up with Rin again, who is alive now.
And they basically get like exposition dump on
all the Grail War.
The beginning of the Grail War, which started with the three major families, Tosaka.
Yep. Check the last episode for that one.
Yeah,
That's
we all talked about it there. And the whole point of that is so that Shiro can copy and project the bejeweled blade, I think it's called.
Gem sword, bejeweled blade,
jeweled dagger, or something like that.
Yeah, the gem sword. The gem sword.
A really powerful sword that is going to kill.
Yeah.
That's also where they find out about Angry Mango.
Yeah, that's the exposition about Angermanyu, and that's where Shiro is able to project the gem sword and give it to Rin because of Rin's heritage as a Tosaka. She is related to Kaiser Zelrech.
Yep.
So they get that, and they go to fight Dark Sakura and Salter. They form a real quick contract with Ryder, being like, "Ayo, I need you if we are going to save Sakura."
Yeah.
And they do that.
They go find their hideout.
Yep.
They end up. The first person they come across is Salter.
Yep.
Ryder is basically. Oh yeah, Salter. So Rin is about to like basically square up and fight, and Salter's just like, "Nah, you can go."
Yeah. So Rin goes ahead to fight Sakura. Shiro and Ryder are left to deal with Salter. That's a heartbreaking scene because Ryder does some really cool shit.
That fight is very cool.
And then
I'm sure anybody who's been on Twitter and knows anybody who likes Ufotable has probably seen that fight in some extent. Yeah. That fight is just kind of gorgeous.
And then it also breaks your heart because Shiro has to stab Saber in order to get the fight. And she said, like, in a flash, she like breaks out of being an altar and says, "Oh, Shiro, you're
dead."
Here." And then stab. And it's such a gut
hurts,
scene.
Dude. It hurts. And then Shiro starts walking towards Sakura with a really like angry, determined look on his face. That scene had given me the chills too.
That scene's really cool. That's following the sisters scene where Rin and Sakura have like their giant head-to-head that then turns into a reconciliation scene.
Yeah, because Rin like is like super like, "I'm going to kill you. I need to kill you. This has to stop." She jumps at her, is about to kill her, and then is like, "Fuck, I can't do this."
Yeah. So she gets stabbed in the gut and then is about to kill Sakura, but then it's like turns it into like an embracing hug of like, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry that I didn't protect you, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then rolls down the hill and is about to die.
Yeah.
Or Sakura thinks she killed her, basically.
Yeah.
And breaks down and and then Shiro is like, "Hey, I'm here."
Yeah. You said you needed someone to fucking make you repent. I'm here to make you repent. Brings up Medea's noble phantasm, which is called Rule Breaker.
Dude, watching him summon Rule Breaker was so cool.
Yeah. And then real quick on that Rule Breaker, literally it just like breaks contracts.
Yeah.
Like any kind of like contract or magical association, it just is nullified.
Yeah, so he uses that to basically transform her back into normal Sakura, break the spell, being, this dark humanoid creature.
Yeah.
And then she's unconscious. But she is safe.
Yes.
So she's good.
So then Ryder is able to get Sakura and Rin out, leaving just Shiro to try to find a way to destroy the Grail, which is when Kirei makes an appeance again. And he's like, "All right, square up. 1v1, final destination, no items."
We're about to square up, fight, kill each other.
Yep.
Mano. And also a really fucking cool fight.
Yep. That scene is also really cool. Meanwhile, Zoken, who had previously been forcefully removed from Sakura's body by Sakura
and
herself,
crushed, is still alive.
He's alive for a little bit, And then Ilya taking the appearance of whatever the fuck the original Einsburn homunculus is. She's like, hey, yo, you're dead now. And then she throws him into the pit, more or less.
Yep.
And then he dies for real this time.
Finally.
Shiro and Kirei fight. Kirei's about to win, but then his body gives out just as he's about to land the final blow. And he's like, all right.
I guess you win.
You win,
Collapses.
buddy. Dies. And then Shiro turns back around. He's like becoming swords. He's fucking dying.
Slowly forgetting who he is and where he is.
Yeah, as his arm is like killing him.
So Ilya is like, I'm going to stop you right there so I can do this and die and you don't have to.
Yep. She saves his soul using the Heaven's Feel magic. She stops the Grail from destroying the world, and really gorgeous anime-only scene where she runs into Iris Field's arms. It's incredible. And Shiro, just his soul is then manifests in front of Rin and Sakura, and they are searching for a container for it, finally find one, and then get there happily ever after.
Which that whole process of getting him into a container is actually a really cool connection and nod to Kara no Kyokai, because the person that he got the body from was Ayoko. Ayoko.
Toko.
Toko, that's what it was.
Toko.
Ayoko is a different character.
Yeah.
Toko is like a mage who basically uses like puppets to basically reanimate people.
Yeah. Really, really cool. She is a super cool character.
Yeah. So yeah, Shiro gets reanimated. There's a time skip where they're all adults. Sakura has the light in her eyes again.
Yep.
Which is such a cool. One of the coolest details about Sakura is that when she starts off, when she first sees Shiro, she's already defiled. So her eyes are just completely empty, basically, and just a dark purple.
Yep.
Then as she's hanging out with Shiro, she has
a trace.
There's a trace of light in her eye, but her pupil is still gone.
Mm-hmm.
And then in the time skip, her pupil is back, and she has fully regained her sanity, which is such a cool detail.
I love stories that can tell a lot through facial expression and facial details, and Heaven's Feel is the perfect example of that. Dude, I know that this adaptation isn't perfect. I don't care.
It's so good.
It's for all of my bias that I have against Zero for being a bastardization of the characters that I love. For as much as I hate Dean Stay Night for being a bad adaptation, I can't in good conscience say I didn't love everything about the Heaven's Feel movies.
Yeah, the Heaven's Feel movies are just they're special. They're really special, especially seeing the kind of cool moments that they can put in the animation like that, especially with Ufotable behind the wheel.
Yeah.
So
it's definitely not as good as the VN, but it's still excellent. I would I give it a 10 out of 10 using my regular grading scale? No.
Yes.
I wouldn't. I honestly wouldn't. But fuck it, I don't care. 10 out of 10.
I agree. Yeah. But yeah, that is the entirety of basically the Fate Stay Night synopsis. You have Fate Zero, Fate Stay Night. You have all the 3 routes. It's technically not all of Fuyuki because there are a couple other things that happen to Fuyuki, like in Fate Grand Order.
Yep. FGO does some stuff. Hollow Ataraxia is the other big one. And then there's a couple other just small bits here and there. Mm-hmm. This is a majority of what you need to know about Fuyuki. It's really, really cool. It's where everything started. And I think that it is still the easiest point to get into the franchise.
It is definitely where I think most people should start if you're going to consume anything Fate related. Unless you really like gacha games, then sure, play Fate Grand Order. But
sure. Just here's now you can't dodge it. How do you start? Pick Zero, pick UBW.
Either one of those two.
I don't care which.
If you start with Heaven's Feel, you're gonna miss so much extra context that is just going to not be good.
Yeah. Because next time we're gonna hit on the sequels, I guess, too.
Yep. So we're probably gonna look at Hollow Ataraxia and Extra and
I think Strange Fake is another one.
Strange Fake probably too.
Yeah, because those are the 3 major direct sequels to Fuyuki. There's a couple others that are kind of related to it, not really.
Yep.
But those are the big ones. So we'll hit that there. But for now, I have been Dean.
I have been Jace.
And thank you for watching. We will see you guys next time.